Hello, everybody. This is John Hiley with DentTrainer.com. Today, we are going to be doing this extreme glue pulling tutorial here. And we have called this the Cannonball dent because you can see it's about the size of a cannonball there. And this is going to be 100% glue pull. So we're not dropping the headliner on this car. And to be honest with you, the procedure that we're going to be using today is faster than dropping the headliner and actually pushing it out. Some of you guys know, here's a natural shot in the LED lighting here. And you can see that there is definitely some crowns around that dent. Now, if we were to drop the headliner, the one thing that you would find is that it's in a braced up area up here towards the front of the roof. So 9 times out of 10, actually all the time, when you have a dent up here towards the front of the roof, it's going to be completely braced up because they've got some structure in there to hold up the visors, and it's a structural part of the vehicle. So let's go ahead and move on to what I'm going to start with on this specific dent is a little bit of crown work. Most of the crown on this dent, however, it's got it on nearly every side all the way around the damage. However, most of it is actually locked up at the top. You can see there I'm using a soft tip knockdown, and I'm just laying it down with some nice soft hits there, relieving some pressure. I say it's kind of a rule of thumb when you are doing crown work on a large dent. If you're starting off with a little bit of crown work, you want to see metal movement in the dent. Now, if you got a dent that's just smashed in there and it's really, really deep and it's got a hard crown on it, and when you tap on that crown, there's no way that it's going to actually move the dent or move the metal, then you want to avoid doing the crown work to begin with. However, this specific dent is one that the crown work is going to complement the flow of the metal. You can actually see at this point, knocking it down, that it's actually went down about an inch. So it was, before doing the crown work that we're doing right now, it was about an inch bigger up there at the top. So this is going to complement the flow of the metal once we go in and start doing our glue pulling. So now you can see here I'm kind of working that back edge around the back side of it, doing a little bit of light adjustment here. And it's just one of them ones that has a crown all the way around it. But I'm really, really focusing down on that crown up at the top. It's definitely the biggest one that was on there. Some of the other little subtle crowns don't worry me so much as far as relieving the pressure to glue pull. So it's one of them situations where I want to do whatever is going to complement this specific repair. So you see there, I kind of hit around on the outer edges, but I just keep drifting right back to that top. You could see that last one. You could see a little bit of metal move there. Every now and again, you'll notice on the crown work, you'll be working it, and then you'll hit this little sweet spot, and you'll notice the metal shrink up during that process. Now, I would say this one would be more along the lines of 80% dent and 20% crown. Believe it or not, there's dents that are nearly 80% crown and 20% dent. We're going to get into that here in the future. We're going to talk more about the type of crowns and the percentage of crown versus dent. However, that's something we're going to explore in some other tutorials. But we're going to say this is 80% dent and 20% crown. So there you go. You kind of see that back edge right there. And with this big low down here, don't expect to get that crown 100% ironed out. We just want to get the metal flowing in the right direction. You can kind of see the peak up there. Like when the camera goes over, you see the peak way up there at the top. That's how much of the metal moved. So we probably got about 2 inches of crown removal there that kind of flowed the dent out about 2 inches into itself. Now we've got the light lined up here, going to be taking the first glue pull. Now I'm strategically placing this. I don't expect to see massive metal movement right here. However, I'm going to take that dent and I'm going to get the pressure off that crown. So I'm going to want to put this is kind of like a tension spot here that I'm doing. So now I've got some nice tension flowing into that crown, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. So this is this next shot right here is it's the very important one. So now I got all that tension flowing off that crown. It's not essentially going down into a deep hole right up there at the top. I'm going to go ahead and put one at the opposite side of the damage. Kind of let it set up here. You notice here I'm twisting it, I'm checking, making sure that it's cured properly, and bam, there it was. It just, you can almost see that high spot now up there at the top that was holding tension right in front of the crown. And that's what allowed us to get this type of pull down at the bottom of the crown. So now the dent is definitely unstable at this point. Don't go in there doing knockdown work at this point. If you go and do a knockdown work at this point, it's all going to fall right back in to where it was. So right now we're at a point of stability. So we're letting the glue tab set up a little bit here again and going in for our next shot. And this is my normal protocol here. Once I pull the tension above the crown line, I'm going to work my way from the bottom right up into it. Now, every dent's different, so you got to figure out if this type of dent is what you're working with. If you're doing something that's more like an 80% dent and a 20% crown is where this technique is going to work effectively. There we go. Trying to now take a little tension off of our first pull and kind of flow it into the center of the dent. Basically creating stability to make the pulls right there in the center of that impact point. You can still see where our big low is there. I always talk about this as working up the damage with balance. And this is a prime example of bringing the dent up in stages to balance it out. So when we do go into some knockdown work, we go into our blending work, we're not going to be basically knocking it right down into a larger dent. So get that metal flowing in the right direction. Here we go. You can just see it closing in on that last little low that's right there in the middle. That's our last tension spot. Even at this level, at this point right here, you don't want to go into a knockdown session. You got to get that deepest impact point right there. You got to get that thing flowing in the right direction, and once we get that up, we're going to start looking much, much more stable as far as the deepest part of the damage. There we go. Let's go ahead and remove that glue there. I just want to let you guys know this is all shot in real time. So what you see right here is exactly how long it took me to get the dent to this point. So there we go. Got a nice little shallow back there. That's kind of the little ripples and shallows that was on the circumference of this damage. And it was on that back side because of that brace that I was talking about that's up here towards the front. It has different glued spots to the roof skin, and I think the damage kind of bottomed out on that brace. And then this is the effect of that bottoming out and kind of flowing in and getting little bitty lows trapped outside of the damage. So I'm going to take the opportunity. It's like, why stop glue pulling at this point? I've still got lows around it. I'm just going to keep on moving. We've got the damage stabilized fairly well at this point, but I'm going to keep on working my way through this thing and just do all my glue pulling at one time. And that's what it's all about, is saving time. You're always thinking strategically how you can do this damage to minimize the amount of downtime that you're going to have. So if I went into the damage right now and started doing all my knockdown, my blending sessions in the center part of the dent, I'd have to come in and pull these eventually. So why not keep flowing with the same process? I'm getting in the vibe, I'm getting in the groove of things. So I'm just going to keep on glue pulling, and there's no reason to get into my hammer and knockdown exchange yet. You can see here, that's another one of them lows right up there towards the front of the damage. So again, at the beginning, you could see the little lows and ripples in the circumference of the dent. And this right here is the last one that we're going to be glue pulling before we go into a nice little blending session here. So there we go. Beautiful glue pull there. Kind of flipped it inside out and made a nice little high spot. And let's go ahead and take a little progress report of the level at what our dent is right now. This literally is 10 minutes into the repair. So there you go. You can kind of see I've got the dent coming up and got my outer perimeter nice and stabilized. And what we're going to be moving into this point is a nice knockdown and blending session. So it's very, very key to learn how to lay this damage down properly to move on and finish your repair.